Hi, this is Suzie Cheel, and today I'm talking with Maria Gamb. And Maria is an author, a mentor, a coach. She is such a talented person, and what I've just discovered is she's also lived in Australia, but currently she is living in her hometown of New York City. Welcome, Maria.
Thanks, Suzie. It's great to be here.
Now, Maria's known as an agent of change, and she has a new book that's going to be coming out. What we're going to talk about today with Maria is how this book came about and how she has become this agent of change, because from what I've read, she's made amazing changes in her life as well as helping people to make change and step into their own power and leadership. So Maria, can you just tell us first of all how your new book has come about?
Absolutely. One of the things that I was always told when I worked in the corporate world is that I was a change agent, and I never understood why people would call me that. But what it actually meant is that I had a way there where I could influence people to make change and make them see that it was a possibility and an opportunity, and not necessarily a big, gigantic pain in the butt. Let's just put it that way, because change can be a pain in the butt. We're living in such a time of change right now, so it's an important message for people to learn how to be a change agent. But as I progressed in my career, I found myself sitting in my office in a job I loved, in a position that most people really would love to have, looking out over at the Empire State Building and feeling really unhappy. And it wasn't because I didn't like my team, it wasn't because I didn't like my boss. I mean, there were challenges. But I realized I could help change this business where I was, and we did very successfully. Or I can go out into the world and teach people these skills of changing a business. But here's the key. It has to do with the person. It has to do with them and not necessarily the organization, because the change has to start on the inside first. So I left the corporate world, and it took me about a year of retrospect to realize what these principles were that we used to change a business around, which were very low-key. There were no fanfare, there were no memos, there was nothing. It was about changing our own behavior as leaders, and then in training our team also to change their attitudes and behaviors, which turned around an entire business. And it's been done several times throughout my career, but without the retrospect, I wouldn't have realized it.
That's amazing, isn't it? And one of the points that really comes up there is that change has to come from the inside first, that people have to change. Now, how do you find working with people? A lot of people, as you pointed out, it is a time of change, but a lot of people are really fearful of change. What is it that you do that helps move people forward so that they can step up into leadership?
Really, what I do is I teach people to embrace change and understand what their fear is, because the only thing that prevents change is fear. It's they're afraid of losing an attachment, and that could be a title or a position or a standing in a community. It could be resistance to anything new for fear that they will look like a fraud, that they don't know what they're talking about if they work with other people. It could be control issues. It could be victim mentality issues. There is a way that we can identify what it is that they're having a trouble with change. It's called the FAR syndrome, and we go through that and help people identify it. But the point is for people to understand that change is a natural progression in the world. It is just like nature. It has to regenerate itself. So in order for anything to regenerate itself, it actually has to burn away first. And one of the stories I tell in the book, and you'll be interested in this because you live in Australia, but when I was living in Australia in I think it was 93 or 94, there were a lot of fires in New South Wales. And the Blue Mountains had basically burned away. And I said to one of my friends, this is really tragic, that this is happening to these people and they're losing their homes and all of this. And he said to me, why are you surprised? This is what nature does. In order for the seedlings to come about and to regrow and for the forest to regenerate itself, it actually has to burn everything off the floor so that the heat could release the seed pods. And I thought this is absolutely a brilliant analogy for change, which is in order for any change to occur, more times than not, everything needs to burn away and you have to start afresh and anew.
Wow, that is an amazing analogy. I love that. And then because I picked up from here, one of your things here from the book, Healing the Corporate World, is that universal spiritual principles are a seed solution. And that then relates back to what you're saying, that we need to, that the forest or the bush as it is in Australia burns out for regrowth to happen. And at the time it can seem very, it is very traumatic, and it can be very devastating for people. And people, and because lives get lost and things like that.
But I think, Susie, I think the thing about the story is for people to understand that change is normal and natural. Okay, and we're living in a time, it doesn't matter if you're here in the United States or if you're in Australia, because I know the economy is also quite challenging there. I just saw friends last week from Australia here.
Right.
And but in order to regenerate business, because we're really talking about business, we need innovation and we need creativity, which means you've got to burn away a lot of the junk that's holding you back from exploring new ways of doing businesses or brand extensions or new business ideas or philosophies or bringing anything new into the world. And so it's really important for people to embrace this and realize that the tighter they hold on, the harder this is going to be. And the solution that heals business is really people working on themselves and returning to collaboration and removing competition, to embracing innovation and creativity and walking past the status quo. It doesn't work anymore. The status quo is the bush that we're talking about that needs to be burned away.
And that's, and it is so true for business, isn't it? I mean, even if we just look at within corporations, but also within, just like the technology that we're using now, there are so many things that business needs to embrace that is changing. And as you say, for business and corporations, if they hold on to the status quo, they don't move forward. And the people they're working with don't move forward.
Yes, absolutely. And that's a really valid point. You see, the change has to happen from the middle. There is no top, there is no bottom, okay? The people who are vice presidents and CEOs and CFOs, they're too far away from resolving the problem. And this also holds true for entrepreneurs. It's very important for entrepreneurs, whether they're they're a one-person team or a 500-person team. These principles apply to them as well. But the change is a grassroots movement. It is people making change within the organization that says, I'll give you an example. I'm not going to compete with everybody around me. I'm going to drop my ego, and I'm going to learn to work with the people around me to find the best solution to create, I'm going to give an example, to create the best brand extension here, which is a new product category. If you introduce a new product category, a new service, a new avenue of service and business, you are automatically going to start creating jobs for other people. And that's what business is here for, and we forget that. Our ego gets in the way. And we forget that business's main function here is to provide jobs and opportunities for other people.
That is so true, isn't it? And what you're saying is it doesn't just apply to corporations. It doesn't apply, I suppose, to you and me as, solopreneurs, that
yes.
What we do also allows us to create opportunities for other people to work with us and for us to be able to help other people expand.
Absolutely. We've become a very narcissistic society. And it's all about me. Me, 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 me. It's like, listening to an opera. Me, 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 me. And really, we need to shift our thinking to a greater consciousness and realize that everything that we do is reflected around us and affects people around us. So if you're only out for yourself, then you're only creating opportunity for yourself, which is part of the breakdown that we're experiencing in business. So the actual mindset has to change. And yes, there's this level of consciousness about, giving to large organizations. And I absolutely applaud that. But what I say in the book is that it's really important for people to give where they are. Are you helping other people around you achieve their dreams? Are you sharing resources? Are you coming from a place of abundance, or are you coming from a place of lack? People who come from a place of lack hide things. They're not transparent. They don't share. They don't collaborate. All they do is compete, and it doesn't work anymore. It just simply doesn't work.
That's so true, isn't it? The thing is that people who have a lot to give, but they're worried that somebody else is going to take the idea or something. But when we are transparent and we share what we've got, everybody becomes more abundant.
Yes, absolutely. So, so much of what I talk about in this book is helping people to understand that they create their reality. And if they're complaining about the situation in their work environment, they have the power to change it. They have the power to change their economic standing. They have the power to change their business relationships and work environment. Because if you go from place to place and you're unhappy, the common denominator is you. It's you. And it's hard for people to hear it, but it's you. So even if you don't agree with what your CFO is doing, or whoever is managing your business, it doesn't matter. You can change the team around you. You can change your own existence by changing yourself. And this is not airy-fairy. This is a system of explaining how things transform, what the antidotes are as you go through about 4 or 5 different phases in this transformation process, and how to actually help other people go through it as well.